What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another exciting, head-scratching episode of Insane Disappearances. I am your host, as usual. I come here with another story for you, a very gripping, crazy, unsolved story. This one today is about a young man named Rico Harris. And those of you who follow sports and the NBA, you will know that Rico Harris was once a Harlem Globetrotter. The crazy thing is, he was only with the Harlem Globetrotters for half a tour, before his career vanished. And we're talking about a young man who basically had a very, troubled life. And I mean troubled life in the sense of him trying to make it in the NBA. Things didn't pan out the way he wanted. He kind of developed some, depression disorders, some bipolar issues, a lot. But this young man, he's very determined, but a lot of things just didn't pan out. Now, Connecticut wanted Harris at the time. So did Kentucky and UCLA. He had scholarships that offers rolled in for one of the county's top 100 recruits. And Harris chose Arizona State after all that. Now, not to get into a long, drawn-out story about his life as far as sports and all that stuff in college and everything, the main thing is that he didn't make it too far in a lot of those areas. Now his prospects didn't improve with the Harlem Globetrotters in the year 2000. Now, Curly Johnson, of all people, who was one of the original Harlem Globetrotters, he was a mainstay for the team for 18 seasons. Now, he remembered Harris being a likable person and very quiet. He wasn't one of the main characters. Just one more name on the team. In a revolving door roster. So he was kind of like one of those in and out kind of teammates. He didn't last long. Now, all of this stuff kind of led to a lot of those situations dealing with him and his bipolar disorders, drinking, burglary and trespassing, intoxication, all kinds of stuff. And at that point, I believe he was just acting out because things didn't go the way he planned. Because I think he was trying to set his goals his way instead of letting nature take its course and just trying to make the right decisions. But that didn't. Excuse me. I'm sorry. That didn't pan out the way he wanted it to. So now to get to the part where everything got really creepy. Let's see. Okay, now not long after the Nissan that he drove was found, a family that was returning from Sacramento noticed a cell phone on the pavement next to the road about a mile south from the park itself. Now, the battery was dead, but the phone didn't appear to be damaged. Now, a black backpack was also found leaning against, the guardrail next to the phone. Now, inside the bag were jumper cables, a few pieces of clothing, and 2 bottles filled with what appeared to be alcohol and an energy drink. Now, what the jumper cables were there for, I don't know. Maybe he kept it, because I would think if he got jumper cables, you're gonna keep them in the back seat or in the trunk of the car, But he kept them in the bag just in case he knew he needed it. Excuse me, feeling really fatigued right about now. But I would imagine that, like I said, why would you keep the jumper cables in the bag? Now, I'll admit there was a friend of mine that kept jumper cables in a bag, but if you're away from the car, I would think that you want to keep the jumper cables in the trunk, so when you come back, the car's dead, you can get someone to jump you. But I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't there, so I couldn't really tell you. But now the family told Sergeant Dean Nealand, who was the lead detective in this case, they searched without success for the owner. So the owner, meaning Harris, was nowhere to be found. And to this day, he's never been found. Now, on the phone, Nealand found a video of Harris sitting, in the car at the park. The camera faced the dome light, and I guess the dome light was probably at the top of the, in the roof of the car, I would imagine. Now, music was blaring, and Harris tore through papers in the glove compartment and flung them around. Like whatever he was looking for that frantically, I don't know. But his wallet, including credit cards, landed in the back seat. Amongst all that mess and paper clutter. So, like I said, what he could have been looking for, I don't know. I mean, he obviously was going a little hysterical at that point, trying to find something that he really needed, but obviously he couldn't find it. Now, the sheriff's Aero Squadron airplane combed the valley. Authorities sent out more than 4,000 telephone and text messages to residents near the search area through a reverse 911 system. Nealand checked every phone call Harris made, every cell tower his phone interacted with, including the last call to his mother around 9:30 a.m. on October 10th. That ended with the usual "I love yous." Okay. Now this is around the time when he went missing, and they found his car on October 13th of 2014. Now, 4 days after the search started, a deputy found tracks, in sand by Catch Creek around noon that weren't there earlier in the day. They were distinct enough to cast. They weren't distinct enough to cast, but the tracks didn't come from an animal and were large enough to have been left by Harris's size 18 feet. Now, the same day, a driver noticed a large individual. The gender and dress weren't clear, and I guess because it was from a distance. Now, whoever this person was walking along State Route 16. It was one of the several similar sightings that week. Now, 10 teams of cadaver dogs from a volunteer group explored the park. A dive team explored the water, including a small waterfall. Nothing was ever found. Near the end of October, authorities scaled back the search. Now, Nealand ran hundreds of text messages Harris sent and received. Hundreds of text messages that he sent and received. He listened to his voicemails, interviewed his friends and family, but to no avail. Couldn't find anything. Now, he didn't have a rosy relationship with his girlfriend at the time, so that alone probably had a lot to do with how things panned out the way they did. Because if you don't have a relationship with your girlfriend, you're going to be a little distraught, you're going to be upset, and along with all the other things he had going on in his life with the NBA and not going forward with his plans and all that stuff and how everything kept falling through, that could kind of send you over the top. Because they say, like I said before, he suffered from bipolar issues and depression and all that stuff. But yeah, that's pretty crazy right there. I would imagine that something weird happened to that young man. What that weird thing was, nobody really knows, because all they know is that he went to a park and he disappeared. Nobody knows what he went there for. Nobody knows where he was going. Was he going to hike? Was he going to camp out there for a couple of days? Nobody really knows. And I can't really tell you exactly what happened. But all I know is that this young man, it's very sketchy. It really is, because you don't really know what happened, and the fact that everything is just so sketchy. You can only get what you can from what they found after he went missing. Okay, now we're talking about the Yolo County Sheriff's Department. Deputy, like I said, discovered his car, in a parking lot at Cache Creek Regional Park, on October 13th, which is a couple of days after he went missing. But there's no evidence to state what he did, what he was going there for. Why did he leave his car there? Why was all his stuff thrown in the back seat? All these little things that were cropping up. They realized that something was amiss, and that something was never, discovered. They just know that he just vanished off the face of the earth. Now, he's got a couple of friends that, really knew him, because they went to school together at Alhambra Fremont Elementary School. So they could tell you right now that he was an all-around nice guy, but he was troubled. He did a lot of drinking, he did some drugs, a lot of other stuff that he actually went to court for. So, but the tank, the car, the gas tank was empty, and the battery was dead, and the interior was ransacked. Now, what could have happened at that point? What could have happened at that point? How is it that his car? Obviously he drove until his car ran out of gas, but for the battery to be dead, that doesn't make any sense to me. How could the battery be dead? I don't know how old the car was, and maybe he just didn't find the time, or just didn't feel like having to get the battery changed. And but that's what they said. The battery in the car was dead and everything. The interior was ransacked. So that came from him searching for whatever it was he was searching for in the glove compartment. And whatever it was he was looking for, he either never found, or he found it and just got out of the car and just left. Now, where he went, nobody knows. We just know that he disappeared somewhere in a park and just vanished. Now, we're talking about a place where authorities scoured a 27-mile stretch, of the 2-lane road that winds through the Capay Valley's steep hills and organic farms. So this is a very remote area where you got farms, you got these like steep valleys and roads and stuff like that. Most of them are probably dirt roads, because it's obviously a very old area. Now, like I said before, they used dogs and all-terrain vehicles. They hiked rugged areas and summoned California Highway Patrol airplanes with the heat-seeking camera. Still couldn't find anything. So, and they couldn't find Harris either. But in a case like that, where there's only the evidence of what was found, you tend to veer off in that direction, which is leading you to a very weird question that needs a very weird answer to put some light on the subject. The young man disappeared. The question is, what made him disappear? Or at least, how did he disappear? Why did he disappear? Where did he go? Those questions need to be answered, yet can't be answered, because the only person that would know that is him. Okay, Rico Harris. He's the only person that would know that. People claim to have seen him from a distance, but that doesn't mean that they actually did see him. Okay, it could have been anybody that may fit his description. No two people are alike, but if you see someone from the distance that have that same physique, then you know that it's either him or somebody else. But that's, like I said, that's just an educated guess. But what could happen to this young man? I can tell you right now that something weird happened to him, and it's something so weird that most of you probably won't be able to fathom. I can, because I believe in that kind of stuff. Seeing may be believing, but sometimes believing is seeing. Okay, and I believe that this happened to him enough to realize that that is what happened to him. So, obviously, a portal opened up, and he went through it. And that's it. Why isn't there any more evidence to back that up? Because when it comes to the unknown, you don't really need a lot of evidence to back up your claim or your story. You just know that something weird happened to this man. Okay? Now, for a person to vanish without a trace, what's the first thing you think about? What? What's the first thing you think about? He disappeared. And that's just as accurate as anything else. He disappeared. He vanished without a trace. And the only thing that a person could think of in that aspect, in that area, is a dimensional portal that opened up to another reality, another parallel Earth, or another planet somewhere out there in the cosmos. Could that be what it is? I mean, I can tell you right now, a portal tried to open up in my house twice. Okay? One time, it happened over the bedpost in my bedroom. And it was an oval-shaped light, about maybe this size. And it just appeared out of nowhere. And then once I walked towards it, it actually vanished. It's almost like somebody had control over it. And they closed it before I got anywhere near it. Because it may have opened up and sucked me right through it. I don't know. And then a couple of days ago, last week, the same thing happened again, but in my hallway near the guest bathroom upstairs. Same oval light just appeared out of nowhere, and I looked and I backed up and I saw it. It's plain as day. And then it just dissipated into thin air. So, most people probably say, well, you probably just saw a spirit orb or whatever. But no, spirit orbs are round and they're tiny. Okay, this was like this. It was kind of shaped like a pill capsule. Okay, and that's all I can say. It just appeared out of nowhere and then disappeared. Now with him, he probably came upon an area that was very distorted. Like maybe he saw some distortion in the environment that kind of made things look ripply. And I know for a fact that right there is either a dimensional bubble or a dimensional wall that blocks us from this other reality behind that energy wave. And maybe he didn't see it right away and he just walked right into it and basically just disappeared into oblivion, which is what we would probably think because we don't know where he went. But he obviously went somewhere to another reality, somewhere to another dimension, another parallel Earth. And I'm pretty sure somebody's probably working with him to cope with the fact that he can't return home because there's no way to get back. You can't control a dimensional portal. It's like a roulette wheel. I talked about this in my last video. Well, you never know when that destination is going to pop up. Okay, you spin a roulette wheel, you drop the ball, and the ball is just spinning, and jumping into these different slots. Never know when it's going to come up, where that ball is going to stop. Okay, but when it stops at a place that is not picked by you. Okay, and the same thing with these dimensional portals. They are not set to go where you want them to go unless you are able to control them. And we do not have that technology to do that. Even though a government may tell you that, that don't mean that they do have that technology. And if they do, they don't know what they're doing. They're messing with something that is very volatile to the existence of this planet. And I say that not to say that it would suck the planet into a wormhole or whatever. I'm just saying that it causes irregular openings of portals all around the globe they appear out of nowhere everywhere. They can appear in your home. They can appear in your backyard, in front of your face, and you won't even realize it until it's too late. So now there are levels to this plane that we live in. Okay, you got those levels where your chupacabra lives. You got those levels where Bigfoot lives, Dogman, Mothman. I would say Birdman, but that's a cartoon. But you got all kinds of creatures. And some of these creatures may have the intelligence of a human, but they're in animal form. So I believe they may have the ability to open up these wormholes at will and pass through them. Which is the reason why you can't never find these creatures whenever you hear about them, like the chupacabra. They always seem to pop up, and then you can't never find them unless you find one that's dead on your property. Like this one woman that I heard about, I think she lives in California, where she actually she found a dead animal that looked remotely close to a dog with, what's that term? The part where they skin, what is that word? Is where their fur sheds and they look real pinkish in certain areas. I'm not gonna say scaly, but what is that word? I can't remember the name. I almost said it. It's something dealing with a dog that has no. It's just all skin and no fur on their body. Mangy. The dog, like a dog with mange. That's what I was trying to say. She found a dog that looked like he may have had mange, but the dog looked weird. It was like a new species of animal that she found, and it had a very long snout and fangs, no hair, no fur or hair on the body. And she had reason to believe that it was a chupacabra. Now, in earlier depictions of the chupacabra was like some upright walking creature with a tube that came out of his mouth. That way they was able to suck up the blood, kind of like a syringe, or the needle point of a syringe, because most needles, or all needles that have a syringe attached to it, have like a tiny little opening at the very tip of it that sucks in the blood into the syringe itself. And they said that this type of creature had the same thing. It comes out of his mouth and it pokes it into an animal that it wants to feed off of, and it sucks the blood into his mouth. Okay, and it had red eyes, like I said before. But this creature was totally different. It may be another type of chupacabra, in like dog form. But that's what she saw. She actually mounted it up and kept it in her freezer for a while. But I think she said that somebody came along to test it, and she hasn't seen it since. But she kept it in her freezer for a long time. It was one of those portable freezers that I think she had on her property. So with that being said, like I said, these creatures live on these different levels, within our Earth. Okay, and they are able to pass through these portals and leave through these same portals. Okay, other creatures like Bigfoot and werewolves, all kinds of creatures can slip in and out of these realities or these dimensions. Okay, so I believe that like I said, there are worlds within our world where these things are happening. Now, I mentioned something before, and I did a video about this, about an elderly woman who was living at her mother's home with her husband, or she was living with them, and they owned a farm. And the father was outside tilling the land, with the tractor. She used to ride on it with him all the time, it's for fun. And one time, I think it was lunchtime, so she got off the tractor and went through the brush to get back to the house. Somewhere between that point and the house, she disappeared and was never found. And it made me think about Field of Dreams. Now, in the scene where the baseball players come into play, they were coming through the crops that he owned on his land. And it was like a portal that opened up somewhere inside the crops where they were able to pass through and come into his, area where the baseball field was. And when they're leaving, they're walking through the crops, and then as they're walking through, you see their bodies fade away into nothing. And that kind of reminded me of what happened to that elderly woman, how she disappeared. So I know for a fact that sometimes, I won't say sometimes, but all the time, the truth is hidden right in front of our face on TV and in reality itself. So with that being said, that's it, folks. That is how you can figure these things out. The truth is hidden right in front of your face on a TV show, everywhere. I even saw something like that in a Alvin and the Chipmunks cartoon. Strangely enough, but it's very true. Trust me. Okay. But it's a very vague. It's very vague information about the truth. It's split up into these different sections and different ways to explain it. So anyway, guys, like I said, you have to get away from logical explanations when it comes to these cases. You cannot solve any of these cases with logical explanations or answers. If the evidence from the death of a person that disappeared mysteriously and was just found there 50 days later without a cause of death, all of those cases have weird evidence that lead you into a realm where it causes you to ask strange questions. But if you think about it, like I said before, you need a strange answer to answer a strange question. Am I right or am I wrong? So with this young man here, Rico Harris, it has a bunch of weird questions that need weird answers to answer. People just look towards a lot of evidence and proof to back up these claims. Sometimes that stuff don't work because it will never answer the question. I'm just saying. So, like I told you, he disappeared because he somehow got sucked into a wormhole that led him somewhere else. He went to another place. What other place that was, I don't know. It's not like he had a probe with him where it can monitor where he was going. And I'm pretty sure the electrical field may even nuke the picture, even if he tried that. I don't know. Does it have an electrical field? Don't know that either. I just know that these things do exist. You may not see them all the time. That's because energy alone is invisible. It's cloaked by a field that meshes with our realm, like a wall blocking another room. That wall keeps us from seeing what's on the other side. But if you open up the door, you can go into that room and see what is on the other side. And that door will be these wormholes that open up randomly all across the globe. Okay, so that's all I can really say about that. So I hope this information gives you some insight on what is really going on here. And I have more, trust me, I have more to come. I have more to say. This is just a preliminary backup, small portion of a huge puzzle that it needs to be solved. Okay? And here's the funny part. We all have a path to follow, which leads to a huge puzzle that has to be put together in order to solve it. I'm part of that puzzle. And part of that puzzle is what is going on here. I believe I can solve it with your help. And if you help me, I will help you. Then we can collaborate. We can come up with some things, can join ourselves together. Become a team, become something that can help us figure out what is going on. So guys, let's make that a pact. Let's put our minds together. Let's figure this out. Even though we already know, because we're into the unknown, and it's fascinating to us. And we know that there are such things as portals and all this other crazy stuff that's going on this planet. We just put two and two together and just say it. Don't think about it. Just say it. Even if it sounds weird to you. If you are thinking that somebody who's walking back to their dorm or their house from a club and somehow end up way over there in a body of water or near a body of water and they're partially clothed, but you know something weird happened to them. There's no way for them to get from point A to point B without somebody carrying them there, but there's no evidence of someone carrying them there. And then if they're missing for like 30 days, but yet the water that they were in shows that they was only in the water for 3 days, where were you those other days? What could have done that? Does a human have the intelligence to make something like that happen and still not leave any evidence behind? No. Every single criminal leaves behind evidence, no matter how small. It could be a hair sample. It could be a fabric from your jeans. They got caught on something. Okay? It could be anything. It could be your DNA. You may have gotten scratched somehow. Like maybe there was a struggle between you and the other person. They scratched you. And the other occupant caused your DNA to be pressed underneath their nails. And you just didn't think of that. So they look underneath the nails and find your DNA, your skin, your blood in between those fingernails. And they put it through a centrifuge to find out what happened. And then your information pops up in the database. And bam, you have just been figured out. But in these cases, that don't happen. People disappear in ways that cannot be explained until you get rid of all of the doubt, all of the fear of the unknown, and all of the skepticism. All of that keeps you from having an open mind. Okay? It keeps you grounded on a level that doesn't need to be there. You don't need to be there. You need to be here. Okay? Here is where all of the truth is. All of the questions that need to be answered is. Just like the interview that I conducted. Okay? That answered all of your questions, right? I would hope it did to the ones that believe these cases. But the ones that say, okay, this is fake, she's just trying to get attention. No. That is not what she's doing. Okay? She had an experience in a national park. And just because you didn't have that experience doesn't mean that it ain't true. That's all I'm saying. So in a case like this, with this young man, Rico Harris, he had a lot of trouble in his past. And he normally goes away for a couple of days to get away from that past. He stays gone for a while and he comes back. But this time he didn't come back. Okay? I don't know, maybe somebody was watching him and they said, okay, we're going to take him to another dimension or to another parallel Earth. I don't think it works like that. I think it's just he walked into an area that may have been strange to him. Maybe he didn't recognize it. Okay? Sometimes they do that. They create these areas that look just like the ones that they came from, but it's another area. And if you don't notice it, then you're going to be trapped and you'll never get back. You know, the doorway to get back home will disappear forever and you'll never be able to return. Okay, you may even find another portal in that area. You go somewhere else, but it's not your home. I don't know. These are the things that we have to be thinking about, people. We have to open up our minds so that we can figure out what is going on. You can't stay in this one comfort zone that keeps you from trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, what's really going on, because you're going to be like, okay, I think I should have just stayed where I was at because this is just too much for me. Never ask a question that you don't want to find the answer to. Don't do that, because you're gonna be very surprised that everything that you hear about, everything that you thought about, is actually true. You know, all of that stuff is true. So don't ask a question you're not willing to hear the answer about. Okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm here to answer those questions to the best of my abilities with my theories, which turns out to be all true. I was surprised about that myself when she came forth with her information about what happened to her at Brown Mountain National Park. Okay, so that opened me up even more about the truth. So that's all I've been doing, is gathering the truth, even if it's a truth that you cannot ever believe ever in your life, because you live in a comfort zone where everything is not apples and oranges, but everything is like just candies and cotton candy and all that stuff. Reality isn't really like that. It really isn't. Reality is filled with a lot of strange things that we can't explain. Okay? And it's right here in front of our face. We just tend to block it out because we're not ready for that. I'm ready for it, but some of you guys aren't. Okay? And I get that from the people that come up with these negative comments about that, interview. But that's their prerogative, okay? That's them. Yeah, I'm not knocking that. You have your own opinion, I have mine. But just because those things didn't happen to you don't mean it didn't happen to somebody else. And it doesn't mean that it ain't real. Okay? So, anyway, guys, I have talked long enough about what's going on, what's really going on as far as reality. But I have more, and if you want to hear more, stay tuned. Come right back to this channel, and I will have another video for you. Alright, because I got another one coming up. This one, I'm not sure what direction I'm going to go in, but I will go in that direction, and I will post it as soon as possible. Alright? So, without further ado, like I do in every video, aloha, mahalo, and ahui ho. Peace out, guys. Have a great day.